Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome to the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. I'm your host, Ben.
And I'm your co-host, Carissa.
Perfect. And everyone, hey, welcome into the program today. Today on the show, we have a full hour of computer and technology news. There's a lot of stuff that has happened over the weekend. We thought we would catch up on it. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And hey, we hope that you stick around for it. So everyone, welcome into today's program. Before we get started, computeramerica.com. That's where you'll find everything, past shows, future shows, all the shows, as well as the podcasts, reviews, articles, all that and more. You can find at computeramerica.com. And hey, if you missed the show, always, hey, feel free to check out the podcast and be sure to give us a follow, give us a like on social media. That helps us out a lot. And of course, you get to stay in touch with the show and what we're doing and all that good stuff. One thing that we will probably start saying every day this week is, well, of course, next week. There will be no new shows. We will be doing repeats every day, and then we will be back the following week with brand new Computer America. But starting November 23rd and going all the way to November 27th, which of course encapsulates not Black Friday. Black Friday's not really a holiday. I mean, it does, but also Thanksgiving, and so we'll be taking that week off. Has absolutely nothing to do with the release of the new World of Warcraft expansion on November 23rd at 3 p.m. Nothing whatsoever. So, be prepared for that. And then, of course, we'll also start mentioning when we get into December, we usually take off a week there as well. So don't be alarmed, don't be surprised. We'll be back, don't worry about it, and everything will be right as rain. But Carissa, you get the week off too. You don't just have to sit there in the dark just waiting for nothing. So
It's sweet.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone, hey, welcome into the show. And why don't we go ahead, Carissa, unless, hey, just real quick, how was your weekend? Do anything fun?
Not really. Just kind of stayed at home, did a lot of laundry, just catching up on some stuff. So nothing too exciting.
Pretty typical. And obviously with the holidays coming up, there's going to be more excitement than we know what to do with. So everyone...
I need to go shopping.
Oh, yeah. Shopping for what?
For Thanksgiving stuff.
Oh, yeah. Turkeys. I don't know how, and obviously with everything that we're dealing with, so far the food supply in America has, luckily there's not been I know that when this whole thing first started, there was like a run on grocery stores and a run on toilet paper, the necessities. And I don't know how the food supply chain's going, but I'm wondering how the turkey supply is going to be. I'm guessing it's going to be okay. No disruptions.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends because you think, people are probably staying home now, which means more people are consuming turkeys because they're not going over to their families' houses. So maybe we will run out of turkeys.
It could be the opposite, where people are not going to those big family cookouts and they opt out of the turkey because, it is a big family event, and a lot of people are, being told to stay home, don't go to large family gatherings. Maybe
you don't really need a turkey.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe there will be a surplus of turkeys. Well, everyone, I hope that you get yours, and even if you don't travel this year, you do something fun. And one story that we didn't pick up, Carissa, but again, so we're not going to cover it. But it was this whole idea that Zoom is putting out special features for Zoom is putting out special features for hosting Christmas parties for offices, and doing that within Zoom. And I thought, wow, if there was one thing that sounded worse than an office Christmas party, it would be an office Christmas party hosted on Zoom. That sounded awful to me.
You can't even like leave your house. It's just hanging out in your house at this Christmas party that you already don't want to be at, but now you're obligated to do it on the internet anyway. What a ripoff.
I get it. I mean, the whole point of Christmas parties is to bring your team, your business, all of your employees. You do something special for them. You show them that I feel like what you just described, like I was describing like kind of the corporate view of it. And then when it comes to the employees, I think a lot of people have the same reaction Chris is like, it's just a waste of time. And it's, it's a way to not give us bonuses. It's, here's your bonus. It is the Christmas party. And now it's hosted on Zoom. So it's even worse. So, but hey, everyone, we have better stories than that, so don't worry about that. Everyone, so why don't we go ahead, Carissa, and get started with computer and technology news?
Let's do it.
So everyone, hey, and by the way, I don't point this out often enough, but of course we have a live video component, and while we are optimized for radio, so we make sure to, not just leave you guys in the dark, but if you are watching the video show, backed by popular demand is of course the quote unquote mascot, a sleeping dog. Yes, that is Merlin, a beautiful 14-year-old Westie that has, man, that has been through some stuff. But yep, that's Merlin, and you can see him there on the screen. And hey, I highly encourage you to check out the video portion of the show. So everyone, let's go ahead and get started with computer and technology news. And I think that our first story, looking through all the ones that we have here, some of them are kind of time sensitive. Some of them aren't so much, but all of them are fresh. I promise. And let's just go ahead and say that, how about our first story we do is, let's see, not that one. Oh, I wanted to find the exact one to do. You know what? So Carissa, a couple of days ago, we talked about Beyond Burgers, Beyond Meat, the imitation meat, that kind of thing. And one of my main complaints, while, of course, hailing the fact that they're not true meat, was that they weren't healthy. And it looks like Beyond Meat heard us talking about this and introduced the story today where, yep, you guessed it, Beyond Meat, they are promising they're promising a healthier alternative to their burger, saying that Beyond Meat isn't stopping with the cooperation with McDonald's plant-based burger. The meat alternative maker has unveiled 2 new versions of the Beyond Burger that address complaints for those who still prefer beef. And the lead burger is reportedly the juiciest, whatever that means, I guess wateriest. It's fair.
Juiciest?
Yeah, I mean, it's fair. When people talk about burgers, yeah, sorry, Chris, I cut you off there, but with the story. But yeah, when people talk about juiciest, I mean, juicy is a legitimate adjective for a burger. So, yeah.
I mean, yeah, but I guess it just depends on what you're classifying as the juice. I guess any kind of liquid that comes out of it would be considered a juice.
Yeah, I suppose. They say that it's containing 35% less saturated fat than a typical 80-20 beef. So obviously 80-20, 80% lean beef, 20% fat. And if you're interested in health above all else, a nutrition-oriented burger that has 55% less saturated fat than an 80-20 beef burger. And Chris, that was one of the things with these Beyond and Impossible and all these other ones, because they're using so much processed food, and these things are, again, heavily processed, lots of trans fat, lots of saturated fat, and, again, it wasn't, if you're eating these things, it's not really for the health benefits. You're eating them because you don't want to contribute to the beef industry.
Right.
Yeah, let's see. So the updated Beyond Burgers will be available across the U.S. in early 2021, and Los Angeles residents can reserve a slot to try the burgers between November 18th and November 20th. Hey, you got to have your market research somewhere. They said that the revamp should help adoption among those who still notice too much of a difference between the plant-based burger and meat. Not to mention those who wanted burgers that are genuinely healthier, in addition to reducing environmental impact. So, Carissa, potentially, just potentially, we may have a tastier, healthier Beyond Meat burger. And again,
Love it.
Yeah, they whenever I eat these things, I always have to go in thinking, this is not a beef burger, but it's still a good burger. Like, I never really drew a direct comparison between the two. They were two different products that occupied.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're trying to like draw a comparison, then you're obviously going to have a loser and a winner because one's beef and one isn't. So like, you just have to understand that it's trying, you know.
Yeah,
it's doing its best.
It's doing its little plant-based best, but they're two different products that occupy the same space. It's like, to me, it's like comparing beef and roast beef and turkey on a sandwich. They both occupy the same space. One is different than the other, you know, and everyone's going to have their preferences. So there you go. Mm-hmm. So there's that first story. Thought we'd start off lighthearted. Now we get into maybe the serious stuff. And okay, how about this one? Texas. I did this because I know that a number of our listeners are from Texas, and check this one out. Nearly 28 million Texans are now warned that their driver's license have been, compromised thanks to the DMV. They said, I take it back. Not thanks to the DMV. The DMV really didn't do anything wrong. An insurance software company. So think the likes of, and with 28 million customers, I can only imagine, let's see, it's one called Verta4. Is one that got compromised, and it had legal access to the DMV information, and said that the data was inadvertently stored in an unsecured storage service that was hacked between March and August of this year. They give that wide time frame because that's when the information was on there. And I'm sure that they don't have exact days, like, the hackers access the server between, this minute and this second and this day. No, they just know that that's where it was stored for that amount of time, and that's when they could have possibly been compromised. And I'm sure that they have the logs to show that, other people were accessing this information. Carissa, you're going to pick up on this whenever we talk about these large, massive data breaches. And, we have another one about CAPCOM, which, we'll do that one right after this one. You keep thinking, oh, hey, it's zero-day exploits. It's the hacker. It's like in the movies where they're doing this or the other and they're stealing things and it's super awesome and cool. But no, the vast majority of information that is stolen or compromised is like this. They were stored on an unsecured server. Someone didn't put a password on this server, and all the information was held there open for anyone to access who knew how to find it.
Rookie mistake.
Yes, it's the basics. The basics are never followed, and that's much to the benefit of the hacker because it means they don't really have to do anything. And in this case, 28 million Texas drivers who received a license before February 2019, so within about 2 years. If you've had a license within the last 2 years, that was the data set that was stored on the server. So
I wonder if they just assume that because of what it is, people aren't going to want that. Like maybe it's the person that's running the DMV down there is like, nobody's going to want this personal information. I can just leave this just like this. And then that's it. Then they leave it. And then this happens.
Well, this is what I'm kind of hopeful about is, again, the DMV was not at fault here. It was the insurance company Verta4.
Right.
They were the one who improperly handled it. DMV crossed all their T's, dotted all their I's. But of course, because Vertafore had legal access, being a car insurance company. They were the one who were compromised. I'm thinking it's more, it's just whoever's in charge of storing their data and, kind of organizing their data. They probably just sent it to the wrong location. I don't know if anyone out there has ever, maybe saved a picture and you saved it to your C drive instead of your D drive, things like that. Exact same thing, but on a much larger scale, and we're talking, tens of millions of driver's license. So,
Oops.
Yeah, it happens. They say that obviously they can't identify anyone who has been compromised because of this, and 26 million licenses were. But what they're saying there is that Vertafore is getting out ahead of it, saying, "Don't worry, folks, no one has had their identity stolen yet." ... That's the big problem, is that now that they know that it's out there, there will be people who are looking for it. And as always, it's not even so much that 26 million licenses were stolen. I mean, really, you could look at the Equifax breach and say, well, 158 or 146, whatever million Americans that compromised, the information was already out there. And one could say, the information was. The problem here is that they have even more information to add to the database, and they have even more timely information, because even at this point, the Equifax breach was like in 2016 or something like that. That information is like 4 years old. It's starting to get stale. Obviously, Social Security numbers never truly get stale, but just being able to add this to those records and kind of spruce it up a bit, always a chance for further hacking. Now, obviously, this article goes on for a bit, but what they advocate here is they put an immediate freeze on all credit, so that they can't pull credit or anything like that, and make sure that you set up some kind of credit monitoring service. And then on top of that, also be sure to change your passwords if you happen to be a Vertafore member. But Carissa, what I think happens here is that it's not even that Vertafore has 26 million customers and you have to be a Vertafore customer to be affected. They had access to every driver's license holder in the state of Texas. So everyone is a victim of this, not just these customers. So even if you're sitting there thinking, "Oh, I have Geico, it's cool," no, it's not cool. You still have to be aware and alert of this. And really, worst case scenario, be sure to request your free credit monitoring every 3-6 months, whatever it is. Make sure that nothing big has happened since you last checked. So.
And is that happening because because it's an insurance company, they're just allowed to see everything? Is that why that is the case?
Yes, they're allowed to say, they're allowed to see everything. And obviously, if you happen to be, someone else that is not a customer, and then you want to be a customer, they have to see your history and when you got your license and all the information that the DMV stores about you. As a car insurance company, they need to know your history, and that's what they see. And again, anyone who got their license before February 2019. So if you have gotten your license since then, or if you moved to Texas and got a new one since then, this would not affect you. But for everyone else, it's going to affect a lot of people. So there you go. Story number 2. Story number 3 now. I wanted to do this one right afterwards, and let's see, I have 2 different sources for this. We can even go a little bit further and just go directly to the source itself instead of these other companies. CAPCOM have issued a press release, which you can see here on screen, directly on their website, which, by the way, is looking a little dated. I would expect nothing less of CAPCOM. Honestly, their website looks like it's from, I don't know, 2014 or something. Not quite the 90s.
Not quite 90s.
But sidebars, they're so old hat. But anyways.
Reminds me of game FAQs.
Yeah. Any kind of like gaming blog and forum and things like that. Yeah, for sure. Now, Capcom announced that it has been the victim of a customized ransomware attack following unauthorized access to its servers, and has verified that some personal information has been compromised. Further, the company also stated it has confirmed the possibility that additional personal and corporate information may have been compromised in the attack listed in number 2. So they list it all here. We'll include a link to this in the show notes, but essentially, for better or worse, Capcom isn't as popular here in the United States as it used to be. I know that there is a large, thriving, what do you got, like button mash fighting games. But yeah, this is definitely
Mortal
bigger.
Kombat, stuff like that.
Yeah. And this is definitely bigger in Japan, South Korea, where, more people play these games, especially in Japan with Capcom. So 300,000 people have been compromised, and 9 personal information items have been stolen, including what you supply to them, including name and signature. So for some reason you're supplying them with your signature, more of a Japanese thing. Let's see, name and address, passport information. They also include name and HR information, such as name, HR information, which would be like where you work and things like that, as well as your name and signature. Carissa, this is a fun fact for for everyone else who doesn't know. Do you know why they have you submit all the information? Like, not just name, address, and email, but we're talking name, signature, passport information, HR, such as where you're employed. Do you know why they do that?
I have literally no idea. I want to assume it's because of like a regional thing. Like they only want people from certain regions doing certain things, maybe?
Very, 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 very good. That is exactly why. Much like in South Korea, that's why you can't just make an account and play against people in South Korea, or you can't make an account and play against people in Japan. There's actually a pretty good third-party black market for they have like. Not consumer codes, but almost like a social security code for individuals, but it's like a personally identifiable number that is addressed to each individual, and you have to have one of those that are issued by the government to make game accounts. This is to prevent people from hacking, from cheating, people from outside the country to access these markets, and of course, to a lesser extent, kind of limit the amount of people who are making fake accounts. We definitely don't have things like that here in America. Here in America, they ask for your email address and your name, which you are more than welcome to completely make up on the spot. There's really no checks and balances, but in Japan and South Korea, they want to lock that down a little bit more. But of course, the opposite side of this is, well, hey, now that they're compromised, a lot more personal information has been compromised because of this. So also, potentially, so that was the confirmed. Those are stuff that have definitely been hacked. And then the potentially hacked include, in Japan, customer service video game support help desk information, including names, addresses, phone numbers, and email addresses. North America, and here's what I said, more in Japan, 134,000 items in Japan, 14,000 in North America. So 10 times as many people in Japan as there are in North America. Anywho, Capcom store member information, including names, birthday, email addresses. Essentially, you can just assume that if you're a customer and or a former employee, as well as maybe even a shareholder, I'm looking at that here, former shareholder numbers as well. I can't imagine anything that wasn't stored, wasn't accessed at some point. Seems like everything was accessed or potentially accessed through Capcom. So there you go. So they have support for individuals. You can call and confirm what's been compromised. You can call their corporate. At this point,
that's so tragic.
Yeah,
It's like losing your envelope with all your stuff in it. Like
it's losing your little black book. Your address book with everything and anything that you could possibly store. can't imagine what wasn't. So everyone, I just want to follow that one up with, obviously, with the Texas one, now with the Capcom one. As to why, let's see. So detection takedown in the early morning hours of November 2nd, 2020, after detecting connectivity issues with its internal network, they shut down its systems and began investigating the situation. They confirmed that this was a targeted attack against the company using ransomware and destroyed encrypted data on its servers. They discovered the message from a criminal organization that calls itself Ragnar Locker. And after ascertaining that ransom money was being demanded, contacted the Osaka Prefectural Police. So they called the cops. Let's see. So press release, network authorization issues, Capcom verified 9 items. In addition to these confirmed 9 items. So they're still looking into it. It was a ransomware attack. I doesn't say anywhere how far they have remedied this. Like, I'm sure that I'm sure that they have found a way around it, that they've restored everything and everything like that. But what's been compromised cannot be gotten back. And yeah, there you go. Capcom compromised. There you go. That's the end of that one. Let's see. Krista, did you have a story, or did you want me to do another one?
I have one picked out here. I want to do this one here about the Space Force. So this one here is from Engadget, I guess.
Yeah.
Netflix orders Space Force Season 2 at an awkward moment. Season 2 could come when the real Space Force role has changed.
Real quick, did you see the first one?
I did, and I don't really know how I feel about it. I love that John Ralphio's in it, but I don't know why they just cast him as John Ralphio and gave him a different name. He was the exact same character, and he was fantastic.
John Ralphio from Parks and Rec, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I've not seen it, but I heard I heard pretty good things about it.
He's something. Yeah, I really love him. I love Parks and Rec, and I love Steve Carell and all these guys. So this was a lot of fun to watch. I liked it a lot. It was a little confusing, you know, but I mean, it's interesting considering, you know, the whole thing with the Space Force in America and all that stuff going on. But this here says most streaming show renewals are expected, or even humdrum affairs, but not this one. Hollywood Reporter have both revealed that Netflix has renewed Space Force for a second season, with filming due to start in 2021.
Wait. I got something for that. They've renewed it for 2021.
Yep.
All right, go ahead.
It's unsurprisingly too soon to discuss many details of where the Steve Carell-led spoof will head next, but the timing itself is notable. There's a lot of questions as to how producers will adapt to a changing social and political landscape. So it originally formed as a riff on President Trump's real Space Force, which has since completed its first missions, apparently. I had no idea that happened. As you might have noticed, though, the U.S. just voted for a new administration that will likely have a different set of space program priorities. The show's creators now have to choose between jabbing the original militarization of space mindset or changing with the times. It's also a chance to refine the show itself, which got a solid response from viewers, but lackluster review from critics.
And of course, you can see here that claims that Parks and Rec veteran Norm Hiscock is joining to help Space Force grow creatively. So you mentioned John Ralphio and Mark Ralphio? Or John? Wait.
Yes, John Ralphio.
John Ralphio, yeah. Clearly, Parks and Rec and that whole creative entity behind Parks and Rec is taking a more hands-on approach with Space Force, which is probably a good thing. Yeah, it's definitely a good thing. And of course, what I'm thinking here is that, I mean, Space Force, that was one of the reactions that was one of the decisions that the Trump administration had that a lot of people immediately looked at and went, well, of course he would. And I remember when that happened, and I thought, Carissa, that it's actually a good thing. It's actually, what Trump was kind of outlining here was a very good thing, because the Navy, the Air Force, a lot of the arms of the military, they had already been dealing with space. It's just there was no real clear-cut control. You know, the Navy had to have their own program. The Air Force had to have their own program. How these things interoperated was fuzzy at best. You know, when you have military satellites, military telescopes, military grade, everything else, like, the military was already pushing its way into space, either through spy satellites, either through communication, you know, kind of infrastructure. The military was already going to space. And of course, President put his own flair on it and his own, you know, kind of propaganda arm on it. But I completely, you know, was behind the idea because we should have some kind of unified strategy when it comes to space. You know, it doesn't make sense to have three different arms of the military put up three times as much military spending to get stuff into space. Maybe we should have one cohesive unit to oversee what is already happening and just combining that under one umbrella. That part made sense to me.
Absolutely. And it's, you know, it's the difference between having too many hands and too many cooks in the kitchen, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, with the situation. So it's better to, I think, also to have its own separate thing.
Yeah. And of course, although I will say, I think the Space Force is under the directive of the Navy or the Air Force, maybe the Air Force. So like Space Force is like nestled again under the Air Force, but all three branches of the military will have access to four if you include Coast Guard, but I don't think the Coast Guard is setting up any satellites. But yeah, I think that overall Space Force was a good thing. When it comes to the show, the Netflix show, the fun show, the I guess kind of like dystopian comedy that it is, you know, writers are so talented. They're going to be able to adapt this to anything. And even with a new president coming in, I don't know, you know, when they say that they've, with filming due to start in 2021, at least there won't be that awkward moment where it's like, you know, it's 2022 and, you know, they're still talking about President Trump. At least they can adapt the show to a new, to a new president. I don't think this is going to lose anything for it. Obviously, the entire idea behind it is still going to be there, and they have plenty to work with. So I like that they got renewed. You know, Netflix has a habit of kind of ending things too early, and this is one I'm happy that did not meet that fate.
I agree, and especially with the Parks and Recs people coming in, I'm super excited for that. That's going to be good. For sure. Okay, everyone, real quick, this story came out a couple of days ago, and we didn't really touch on it, but just real quick, not going to delve too much on this. Actually, this kind of touches on something that we talked about with Mike Cermak, and that is, well, unlimited doesn't technically mean unlimited. And what I mean by that is, well, HP, you love to hate them. HP, their print free for life deal we promised you, ? Well, now it's pay per month to continue using your printer ink. And yeah, you know, free, unlimited, all these words, what do they really mean? Nothing, because at any point they can turn around and cut you off. So what happened is this: HP runs a thing called Instant Ink, in which you pay a monthly fee and periodically get sent ink cartridges to fit into your printer. Carissa, if you've ever had a modern printer, you know that they connect to the internet. There are drivers. You connect them to your computer. They automatically sense their own ink levels. And of course, if you need to print a black and white document, magenta is always low, and you can't print that black and white document because, hey, yay magenta. But anyways, your computer will monitor your ink levels, and instead of you having to go to somewhere to order them or order them online, your printer would automatically kind of ping out and say, hey, we're low on these. We're going to be low here soon. Send out the replacements. And for $25 a month, you can print 700 pages in that period. It tracks how many pages it prints. And of course, much like minutes on a cell phone, you can have unused pages roll over to subsequent months. So, you know, if you're a business, this takes the hassle out of ordering new ink. You know, for a home,
I can't imagine a home printing 700 pages. This is definitely maybe for students, maybe, in certain like doctoral students, maybe. But for a small business, this was their thing. $25 a month, 700 pages. After running out of your allowance, you pay $1 per 15 pages. Don't pay, can't print. Simple as that. Customers chose when setting up their HP device whether they want to go the instant ink route or go out and buy cartridges themselves. And if they cancel their instant ink plan, they'll have to send the cartridges back to HP. A little weird, but I guess that also prevents people from canceling it right after they get new ink cartridges, and then HP saying, "Oh, well, pay us for the cartridges you already have." There's
Maybe
really
it's a recycling thing too.
Yeah, I'm sure that being able to send your empty ink cartridges back after you get your new ones, I'm sure that's also helping with recycling and reusing old cartridges. But anywho, all this not very good. Well, now let's see. So for users who don't need to print that much, HP marketed a print free for life tier that costs nothing and that was limited to 15 pages a month and $1 per 10 additional pages. 15 pages per month, I would say that's more of an average household nowadays. Maybe you print off like a coupon online, maybe you print off directions or something, but overall, hey, we live in a digital world. Carissa, how many pages are you printing like a month?
Oh, a month, less than 20 probably, because we use it to print out our D&D sheets. We use it to print out little things. I use it to print out stuff that I'm going to like glue into books eventually, stuff like that. I use it for crafting and
not much.
Not a whole lot, maybe 20 pages.
Yeah, and even then, like, it's not even like super vital, It's not like, important documents. So anyways, free for life, that was the thing. Well, now they're not offering that tier anymore. They're saying that the free tier is being scrapped and now folks have to pay. Below is a typical email sent to the customers. The fees start at $1 a month for 15 pages, just like the free tier, albeit with a rollover of 45 unused pages, which, not bad. And of course, Instant Ink, you always get this option. Of going out and buying your own ink. This is the monthly plan that they set up for you with the Instant Ink. So
you can still get your ink. You just have to do it yourself.
Yes, and you still, and you don't have to pay anything. It's not like there's a mandatory fee to use your printer. There's a mandatory fee now for using this plan. And again, the plan, you're looking at $1 for $1 a month, 99 cents a month. The amount of printers that they sell, don't get me wrong, this is definitely going to net them some serious income. This is definitely a drawback for people who were kind of relying on that free tier of Instant Ink. Mm-hmm. If you don't like it, cancel Instant Ink and just opt in for buying your own ink. I know it's a little bit more of a hassle, but you don't have to pay anyone anything. I don't know, Chris, how do you feel about this? Because it seems like there's a way to not pay anything. Yes, this is a price increase, but I can't imagine that, it's $1 a month is not that much money. Like, it's something, but I don't know. People
usually pay a lot for convenience. So $1 a month is really not a lot. And I think it's worth it probably.
Yeah.
But it would, be enough to kind of increase their income.
Yeah. And it will definitely make an impact for HP. $1 a month, and the thing that you get with this that you didn't get before with the free tier, you get those rollovers. So if 1 month, let's say Carissa misses her D&D sessions, doesn't have to print those, then hey, those pages roll over to the next month, and yeah, you actually get to start storing some up. It may actually be a little bit more convenient for certain people. Yeah, I don't know. It's certainly something worth looking into, but hey,
now,
if you don't like it,
$5 a month, no.
They do have a $5 a month option, and that includes, let's see, I think that one's like 100 pages. So for $5, you get 100 pages a month. Obviously, when you start getting like into like the 12, the 18, the $50, the $50 is 1,500 pages. That's more like your small, medium business working out of the home. Mm-hmm. So different tiers, different plans for everyone. And yeah, can definitely check that out. But a lot of people were freaking out because, hey, HP is pulling the rug out. The headlines made it so sensational. HP is making people pay for something that used to be free. Yeah, technically, but also if you don't want to pay for it, you don't have to pay for it. Go out and buy your own ink. There's so much to hate in the printer industry, when it comes to pricing and not using, kind of recycled and digital right management, all that kind of thing. There's so much to hate with printers. I feel like this is so far down on the tier list that I don't know. I'm not hating them as much as the internet is. So
right
there you go.
As long as it prints quickly enough, I'm fine with it. Like if it works and it's fast enough, because I've dealt with really slow printers and it makes you just want to like jump off of a bridge.
Right. As long as the printer itself is working, then yeah. Right. I understand completely. So everyone, let's go ahead and continue on here. So let's see. I think that our next story that we're going to do here. Okay. We'll do this one real quick, and hopefully I don't get the infamous paywall here. Collapse that. Yeah, we're good. Okay. So, you'd cite this one from the New York Times, and it has to do with the one, the only Monster Wolf, which if you're watching the video portion here, you can see
the one, the only.
Yeah, it is, boy, it even has like a flashing light on its tail.
It looks like a fake werewolf head. What is that? It is a werewolf head. Excellent.
Yeah. Looks like someone raided the unused Halloween costumes, and you can see it here. So, let's see. Japanese monster wolf aims to scare off wild bears. So obviously, if you're scaring off crows, you use a scarecrow. If you're scaring off anything else, you use a monster wolf. They say that after bears venturing into the city in search of food, officials installed mechanical wolves with bare teeth, glowing red eyes, and a fearsome screech to keep the animals away. I guess you need something a little bit more menacing than a random farmer in overalls. So, they say that the wild bears were becoming more of a nuisance, and obviously living in Asheville, I have a little bit of experience with that. Not fun. Now, in the northern island of Hokkaido, in search of food and increasing the risk of deadly encounters with humans, as bears. And by the way, Carissa, you looked this up real quick. What type of bear? Because I'm from Asheville. I think black bear. What type of bears are in Japan? So I don't think they're. Are they like spirit bears or ghost bears? Where they're called? I don't know. Anyways, as bear sightings and danger increased, officials say the city of Takikawa, population 40,000, turned to a mechanical solution.
Okay, I have it. It's the Asian black bear and the brown bear. The brown bear lives only in Hokkaido, Japan. So it's probably the brown bear.
Yeah, it's probably the brown bear. So, and I'm assuming brown bears are a little bit bigger than the black bears. If I'm thinking of North American bears, right. Although I will say I'm not an expert on bears, so I like them. They're cool, but I digress. In September, October, officials installed a monster wolf near a residential neighborhood and another in a field in a suburban area to keep the wild bears at bay. The mechanical wolf, originally developed by a machinery maker, stands 6.5 feet tall and is 4 feet long, its maker said, but when planted high in a field, it appears to be a match for a wild bear. So they didn't go with the wolf pack. No, they went with a singular, weird mechanical wolf. They say with fake, it's actually pretty cute. If you're into like cheesy Halloween decorations, with fake fur, bared fangs, flashing red eyes, it turns its head from side to side, making howling, screeching sounds when its motion detection are triggered. The screech can travel up to 1 kilometer, and it comes in more than 60 varieties, including a dog's bark, a hunter's voice, and even gunshots. So this thing is armed to the teeth.
Can you imagine having one of those in the carport?
Yeah, I could, and it would scare off just about anything, bears notwithstanding. They say that way bears won't get used to the sound, according to the director of the company in charge of the mechanical wolf sales and maintenance. So, bear sightings have reached a 5-year high across Japan in recent months, and they have about 13,000 reported sightings on file. A number of attacks this year have left residents injured or killed, and bears have been shot dead. Recent attacks, including 2 fatal ones, led to an emergency government meeting, according to local reports. So it's sad. And like the good part, I guess all this is like, it seems goofy, and it may seem like troublesome for the bears, but in reality, this is actually help protecting the bears, where the bears don't interact with humans as much as they would because they're being warded off by the mechanical wolf, and therefore they're at less risk of, getting shot. So this actually helps the bears as well as the humans who don't have to deal with, waking up with a bear crawling through their window. It's definitely a good thing.
And bears are going to be bears. There's nothing you can do about it.
Exactly. They are wild animals. Now, they say that a shortage of acorns and shrinking rural populations, which serve as a buffer between wilderness and more populated urban areas, are among the factors pushing wild bears into other areas to search for food ahead of their hibernation. And, obviously, they said that this could help humans coexist with bears, chasing the animals back into the mountains. So, acorn shortages lead to robo-wolves. There's your cause and effect for the day. True story. So there's that one. Carissa, if you had a chance to poke around these, did you have another one that you wanted to cover, or one that looked interesting to you?
Let's see here.
I have one about video games that I can read here real quick. Obviously, obviously video games, as covered by most popular news organizations, video games are something to fear. I mean, not too long ago, we did a story about how China is moving in to severely limit the amount of time people spend on video games, which, in all honesty, may not be the worst thing in the world. But talking only about the negative side effects of video games doesn't do video games justice. There are positive effects to video games, and especially in times like these where socialization is crucial. When you're, trying to stay in quarantine, they can have an even better effect. So this one coming to us from the BBC Tech, saying, video games good for well-being, says University of Oxford study. Pretty good organization.
Oh, that's nice.
Very reputable. So they say that people who play video games for long periods of time tend to report feeling happier than those who do not, a study has indicated. Although we need to look at this and see if it's really,
Take that,
really,
Mom.
Yeah, see if it's really at its core. So they say that the Oxford Internet Institute research focused on 2 games, Nintendo's Animal Crossing and EA's Plants vs. Zombies. Fun fact about Plants vs. Zombies, this has nothing to do with the story, but we had the creator of Plants vs. Zombies here before they released the game, and we were the first place that was told and given a demo of the game for Plants vs. Zombies.
I remember that.
Yeah, fun fact. That was a number of years ago. It was a lot of fun. And he's since gone on to do other games. And we've had him back on the show for his other games. But PopCap, what a time. Obviously, they were acquired by EA and that whole thing. But anyways, Plants vs. Zombies. In an unusual step, the developers of the game shared anonymized data about how long each participant played.
Ooh, no.
Yeah, these logs were then linked to a survey in which players answered questions about their well-being. A total of 3,274 gamers took part, all over the age of 18. So immediately, my first reaction is self-reported happiness. There are other metrics that you can take for happiness, but as far as self-reported happiness, and 3,000 people, I don't know how many people consider, or I don't know how many people play video games on a regular basis. I'm sure that number is out there. 3,274 is a pretty good sample size. It is not the largest sample size I've heard of. So a couple of things to take away from here. But as far as 2 video games and a couple of self-reported surveys, things look good. Any previous research, data gathered about the duration of subjects' gaming sessions was based on self-reported guesstimates, which can be inaccurate. The change here, again, was that the video game companies submitted the playtime as opposed to just being like, oh, do you play for 1 hour a week, 3 hours a week, 5 hours a week? No, this is the exact game time, and they can look at the correlation here. So
that can be dangerous.
Which part? The guesstimates or or telling people just exactly?
Knowing, yeah, exactly how many hours you play, because like that can be quite a time sink for some people.
It might be a little embarrassing, but they were anonymized. So, Krista, no one's going to know that you spend 70 hours a week playing Animal Crossing. No one has to know that. So,
especially not my boss.
Yeah, exactly. So, Nintendo, they say that Nintendo solely provided data on playing times in Animal Crossing New Horizon. And again, I'm sure that these were only the people who participated in the survey. If you were one of the couple thousand people who were sent, hey, how you doing? How you feeling? You feeling good? You were probably included in this study. But EA also shares some data about in-game performance within Plants vs. Zombies. This included achievements and the emoticons that participants had used to express themselves. Gamers also asked how they felt about their experience. They said the professor who led the study said that they were surprised by the results, saying that if you play Animal Crossing for 4 hours a day, every single day, before I finish this sentence, Carissa, what do you think is going to happen if you play that much Animal Crossing every day? Are you going to be happier or not as happy?
I guess it depends on how you're looking at
Self-reported.
it.
Self-reported.
Yeah, self-reported. Yeah, probably happier, but then guilt and happiness.
Guilt is only for those who are retrospective, only for those who look at their actions. They are the guilty ones. But looks like most people are happy. They said that they feel significantly happier than someone who doesn't. That doesn't mean that Animal Crossing by itself makes you happy, they added. But he added 40 years of previous research had suggested that the longer people played, the more unhappy they said they were. This is because the conventional wisdom is that if you're playing that much video game, you are unhappy with external influences. Maybe you got laid off, you don't have a job, you're in a bad situation in your home. You have other external factors that are making you seek some sort of escapism that video games are very good at doing. 4 hours a day may seem like a lot, but hey, let's face it, think about how often people watch TV or sit at their computer otherwise, fiddle on their phones. Playing 4 hours a day isn't as much of a chore as it used to be. So, yeah, it's showing here that people who play, I would consider 4 hours a day casual numbers, but I think a lot of people would say 4 hours a day is, that's a healthy chunk of video game time. So.
I'm going to say 4 hours is probably casual.
Yeah, but
I think the longest I played was, oh God, I don't even want to talk about it. It was when Fallout 4 came out, and I think I put like 18 hours into it the day it came out or something stupid like that. And then Aaron comes through and saves over my game. And I cried literal tears.
Yeah, that's a lot of progress.
So 4 hours is not a whole lot.
That's almost like playing Pokemon, and then like your sibling comes in and like saves over your one save file in Pokemon. Yeah, that's awful. But no, I gotta say that my if we're just doing asides here and we're just dropping numbers, number one, and I remember this very clearly, I got World of Warcraft in the morning or like in around noon, and then my parents left for the weekend, and I remember it was Saturday because I didn't get it the day of. It came out Friday at midnight, and I didn't get it until Saturday because I was 13, and that was life. Anyways, I got it Saturday. Parents left for the weekend. I sat there and played World of Warcraft until they came back Sunday afternoon, and I played for 32 hours straight.
Nice.
Like, barely got food, barely went to the bathroom, played just straight. And it was just a blur of games. I was level 10 by the end of it. I was not doing very well, but boy, I was happy. I was a happy 13-year-old. Anyways,
sometimes it do be like that.
Yeah, sometimes it really do. And I got to say that, self-reported, I was happy in that moment, and I have happy memories about that. So I associate with this study. Anyways, the academics suggest that one reason for the discrepancy might be that both of these games had social features in which players interact with characters controlled by other humans, saying that, quote, "I don't think people plow a bunch of time into games with a social aspect unless they're happy about it. It's like a digital water cooler," he added, saying that both titles provided a new way to mingle with others online. However, he said that those who felt they were compelled to play, for example, because they were seeking to avoid stress elsewhere in their lives, as I was saying, had reported being less content. So if you're playing 4 hours a day of video games to not have to deal with other issues in your life, you are going to be less happy because that escapism is temporary, and maybe some of that guilt Chris was talking about seeps in. But as for Animal Crossing and other social aspects, if you get to play 4 hours a day and you get to hang out with friends, socialize, if you get to play, you're happy that you get to play. Yeah, that seems to be the takeaway. So, again, the study is pretty limited. The study is only about 3,000 people, self-reported, 2 video games, both of them pretty similar. It's not anywhere near the, tens of millions of people who play video games for any amount of reason and the different types of video games, but it's a start. It's something that paints video games not just in this horrible light. So, yeah. Good stuff.
That opens up for more studies and stuff like that too. Maybe they will branch out and see how people feel about playing Grand Theft Auto for 10 hours a day. Things like that.
You're very aware of how the academic process works, and just starting with a question and then expanding on that. That's how it begins. And this is another data point, and a good one at that. So, Chris, we have time for one more story, and unless you had one picked out, I think I want to cover Nvidia. Do some hardware.
Let's do it.
All right, so everyone, Nvidia, they have a new desktop out, and this thing will blow your socks off and then render them in high effect and blow them up all over again. So everyone, hardware-wise, Nvidia's latest desktop workstation has 4 80 gigabyte GPUs. So this, this is probably something I will mention this Wednesday when we have Darius Derek-Shani on the show, because this is what he uses computers for, to render things and to create. And if you're watching the video portion, we're going to go ahead and play this here in the background. This is actually Nvidia rendering their own desktop. But yeah, this is a desktop, a workstation completely designed for rendering things. And my goodness, is this thing gorgeous. Or at least, obviously, the renders of it are. They say back in May, Nvidia announced a ridiculously powerful GPU called the A100. The A100 was the replacement for the Titan line of cards, and it was strictly for enterprise. This is not for consumers. They say that it was designed for data center and such that companies own Dgx A100 rather than anything the average consumer would run at home. Today, the company has announced the Dgx Workstation A100, which you can see right there, which, there you go. Stop playing. So, and actually, I also like the really close-up render. It even shows the little mesh up there. It's
beautiful. It's a gold tone.
Yeah, super detailed. Anywho, this little baby, they say that today the company announced the Dgx Station A100, name implies, is the form factor of a desk-bound workstation with 4 A100 GPUs, either the 40 gig model or the new 80 gig version. And of course, they'll also have 320 gigs of GPU memory to play with. And with that being said, let's see, for science and business world, kind of research and engineering outfits that are crunching massive data sets and investing heavily in machine learning and artificial intelligence. Again, these things are not for the average consumer. Like, even thinking, man, imagine how good my video games would run on this, is probably in itself a flaw, because these things are optimized for, again, those two tasks, the data crunching, the artificial intelligence. Your RTX 3090 graphics card would probably be much more efficient and much more capable of running video games than these things will. So it's not even about running, the video games at super, super high speeds. It's about getting this massive workload that would take other graphics cards, 3 days. This can get done in like 2 hours. And there is the cost benefit analysis, because Carissa, real quick, guess a price for this thing.
Oh, Jesus. $5,000.
Not even close. Yeah, $200,000 back in May.
Oh my God.
That was the original Dgx A100. So that was that was the workstation there. This one you're looking at either 200,000 plus, and I wouldn't doubt maybe somewhere in like the $300,000 range. So yeah, this is not something any consumer would ever buy. But again, the cost proposition here is that if you're paying for server time and you're paying for throughput, when something takes 4 days on your old system and a couple of hours on your new system, that is time you don't have to pay all these professionals to wait around. It's super important, and it's going to save a lot of people a lot of money, but probably not you and I. So there you go. Everyone, the music means that we're done for the day. Thank you so much for tuning into the program here. Tune in tomorrow. I believe we have an interview with a company. Let's see. That exact interview is iCleanse, where we're going to be talking about sanitizing devices. So everyone, tune in tomorrow. We'll catch you then. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
See ya.